Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today is the week 3 devlog recap because it's not really a devlog. I didn't record daily updates throughout the week as to what I did, so we're just gonna go ahead, sit down, and recap what we did this week. Not like tons of huge developments got done in the game development side of things, kinda like a good amount. Like there was stuff done, but there wasn't a ton of stuff done. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we did not get done status effects because it turns out that's a much bigger task than I was thinking it would be. Like I had an idea and I started laying out the stuff for it and I'm like, let me just look up what kind of other people would do about it. And the kind of only stuff I found on it was like very long series and it looked a lot more intricate. So we will get to it at some point because it is like a core staple to the gameplay at this point and a core theory, so we do need it or we can kind of move on to a lot of other stuff. So we will sit down and do it. It just required a lot more time than I had last week. I had to do some other stuff. However, this week I did do the health system. All right, we have working health bar, health UI with health system. You can be damaged, you can, you know, it's a health system. We got it in there. It's in there. It's good. It's working. But I also did a few other things. I allowed it so we can get damaged. So I created some damage causing actors. So when you run into it, you'll take damage. And we can use that kind of bit of code that damages you for weapons and stuff in the future, since it's pretty modular. All things are in Unreal Engine are pretty modular. So this component we can use and kind of build out damage for everything else, which is great. That's good. So we have damage now and we have a health system. I also set up a respawn system. So now we can respawn in the game. Very cool. So when you do reach your 0 point, you know, low health, you'll die and you'll respawn. There's no death animations. You can't just disappear. We can add in death animations later, but for now it'll work fine. It'll also randomly rotate between any player starts you have in the level. I'm still new to this, obviously, so I don't know if player starts are exactly what you use for like set respawn points on maybe like a deathmatch thing, change which game mode you're in or like which teams or anything like that. But for a free-for-all game mode, we would have proper respawn system working. So there maybe have to be some parameters added to it to be like no one else can spawn here within, you know, 8 seconds or 5 seconds of another player, so you're not like just dropping all on the same person, right? You know, you wouldn't want that to happen, but we can focus and add that later. We have the basic fundamentals for a health, respawn, and damage system in the game, which, if I'm being honest, that's a fairly decent amount of stuff. I think, like, you know, I'm all kind of going off of how much I got done in the first week, which maybe I should have made the first week take longer, because now it's like, oh, I didn't do nearly as much as I did in the first week, because I basically made a full functioning game in the first week. But that was following a course, and so obviously it went longer because I didn't really have to figure everything out by myself, you know? I had to figure a few things out, but not everything. So that's just what's in my head. I'm like, oh, I did so little this week. But realistically, it's a very good foundation we have going, considering I set out like finding someone who can be a 3D artist for us, for contract, obviously for hire. So yeah, I'm messaging a few people, getting that all sorted out. Next week we should be able to get a character finalized and put into the game, which is great. That's getting all like much more sorted and done. We're very close to being relatively done with that. So start-ish of next week, maybe Tuesday, we should have like a model that can go in the game. Tuesday or Wednesday, somewhere around there next week, which is great. That's fantastic. I also messed around with overlay materials, which is a cool thing that I found out exists in 5.1, maybe even 5, but 5.1 for sure. And it's a really cool thing where you can make like materials that can go over top of other materials, and it replaces like post-processing materials, basically, is what it replaces. And so I tested around with that. You'll see it on screen somewhere. And so I made a red outline, a blue outline. You can customize a lot of stuff on it. It's just up to me to make what I can customize, you know, if that makes sense, right? It's not like customizable where like I can just customize it. Like I have to make what I can customize and then I can customize it. But for now, it's pretty modular. It's a very simple-ish kind of material. Didn't take too much time to figure out. I then did turn it and make my own like fire, kind of burny, ashy, kind of swirling status effect looking thing. And I thought, hey, maybe we can use these overlay materials for status effects. Maybe not all of them, because I don't know if I want just like kind of not necessarily flat, but like just on top of the skin. Maybe I want more like 3D effects that like kind of swirl around your character or are further off your character than just like on your skin, right? So we'll have to see how that looks. I also applied it to a Griffin model I happen to have, which we might be able to use later in the game. Who knows? So we have overlay materials in there as well, and that is pretty sick. Overall, not totally a huge amount of stuff, but good solid foundational pieces that will help us move forward in the coming weeks. I mean, it is only the second week of this project, and we are slowly putting together a decent foundation. I mean, I have to kind of put all this together myself, so it's gonna take a while. But yeah, coming up, we'll have to make status effects, and then we'll have to make networking things. Just make sure everything is playable on a network and does stuff. The networking stuff and replication and multiplayer things might have to come before even status effects. That way, because I don't want to start making too much and then be like, oh, I can't use most of this because it can't work multiplayer, right? So we'll probably start focusing on that. Not this next coming up week. This next coming up week is probably just going to be more kind of random stuff and putting in the character this week and setting up the character, because we might have to retarget animations and we might have to do a lot of that stuff. So it'll be another random week, and I think there will be a devlog and not like this dev recap, but you know, we'll see how it all plays out. Anyways, that's it for week 3 of the devlog, and yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Later.